Hi, and welcome back to our channel. Today, I'm going to give you a tour of the stall and paddock area that we have gotten mostly built and set up, and come up with a few interesting designs that I think may help some of you out, give you some ideas. All right, so here you are looking at the front of some of our stalls. Now, one question I've had is, how are we going to control rain and wind through that big opening? Well, the long-term plan is this will actually be directly connected to an arena where I'm standing. So there will be a roof shelter here. But in the short term, we've decided to go ahead and board up this area right along here. We're just gonna throw some boards that'll kind of match the boards down below, and that will help keep wind and rain out. It's not a huge priority right now, just because we're going into summer, and it's definitely not cold, and airflow is a great thing in the summertime. So not a huge priority, but we'll get to that. But you can see that we've got two stalls fully finished on the inside and set up, still working on some of the outer planking, really more for aesthetics than anything. And then the third stall is almost complete. Sean has got to mill a little bit more lumber so I can finish the grill, the kind of the stall grill there, and finish the door. But that'll go in pretty quickly, hopefully. And then my tack room over there, the inside is just about complete. But again, he's got to mill the lumber to finish the outside wall. So you still see the girts there. But let's get a little closer and I'll show you some of the finer aspects of what we've set up. So when you see professional stalls, you'll usually see what they call a feed-through window. Now, usually they're a lot smaller, kind of a small square. And in our case, because the main intent of these stalls is to house our wild Mustangs that come here for training, I wanted our kids to be able to feed more easily and safely. So we actually designed this window to be about the size of 2 flakes of hay. And that way we can push it right through into a manger, and the kids never have to open a gate or enter a stall, and everybody is safer. So on our stall door, I decided to hang these flex hooks. These are something we discovered at our last farm, and I had them actually all over the place because you see they're very, very flexible. There's no sharp points, and if a horse were to bump into it, run into it, it's not gonna put out an eye, it's not gonna, gouge out their shoulder. So these are really handy hooks for those temporary issues. It allows you to hang a halter. It's kind of the perfect size and weight limit for a halter and lead rope. So in our case, I've put them on the outside of our stall doors to give us a place just to hang that halter lead rope for quick access if we need it, or when we're actively working, you could stick a bridle there. So really handy hook. Another hook I want to show you is this gate latch. Now this is pretty neat. Almost everybody who has horses is familiar with these slide latches. It's designed to be very similar. However, notice here there is a spring on it. This allows it to be a quick thumb pop open, and it pops right open. But the great thing is it's held open by this spring. So you can see this little latch end doesn't slide back out. When you go to open your door, the horse can walk through and not risk running into this pin. That's an issue I've seen with other designs and your standard slide latches. This one's a little more expensive, but well worth it in my opinion. The other plus is when you close it, it's a bit of a tight latch, but that spring there again is pulling this against the bar. So in the case of our Mustangs there again, there is no rattle, there's no give, it's just a really tight fit. And again, safety's priority and security. So I'm really happy with this latch. We've played with it a bit, we've had it on there, and it just keeps things really simple. All right, so we're gonna take a look inside the stalls and show you how we set that up. Now, if we had had a large budget, I would have, of course, used some of the equitile type mats and such that we had in our last barn. We're probably going to miss those. But nonetheless, we did the best we could. So we started out with a packed clay base. You may recall that from previous videos. Then, especially on this stall, you can see there's quite a rise, almost, oh goodness, probably a good 18-inch rise to the bottom of the stall from the ground due to the slope we had set up. So what we did was we filled it with CA6 gravel. And that CA6 brings the ground level all the way up to the stall level. And we did that all the way down. So each stall has a little bit different amount of CA6 in it, but this provides good drainage, which is obviously critical in a stall environment. You want to get that urine and water out of there so the horse isn't standing in muck. Then on top of the gravel, we put about a 2-inch base of what we call ag lime. Now this ag lime is simply a crushed rock, often limestone and such, but it's just very finely crushed. It's angular, so it compacts very well. And after we put a couple of inches, we used a manual tamper and just went around and really tamped it. In any case, this lime is about 2 inches, and it gives us some compaction, which again provides great drainage. And on top of that goes the actual horse bedding. So in our case, again, to save money and to use resources we had available, we actually started our base with multiple loads of the sawdust that Sean has produced from his lumber mill. Now, normally, you know, sawdust can be really dusty, so you have to watch that. But in our case, especially right now, we are in a rainy season here, and you can see how this just kind of presses together. It has just enough moisture from the humidity in the air and the pretty frequent rain we're getting that it keeps the dust down, and this can actually help moisturize the hoof of the horse, which is a good thing. Just enough, kind of like putting lotion on your skin. Then we mixed in a little bit of our planer shavings, and I did put 1 bag of store-bought shavings in. So saved us quite a bundle, but the bigger store-bought shavings mix in, and they do kind of help control, again, any dust or whatever, just kind of keeps it packed in there. So this bedding is about 4 inches deep, so it provides plenty of softness above the compacted ag lime. And it's good to go, nice and comfortable for the horse. Now behind me, I've put a rubber mat down. The purpose of this rubber mat has several reasons, really. Number one, it gives us an area to feed. If you've worked with horses at all, you know some of them can be very nice, tidy eaters, and some of them are absolute pigs. And of course, the hay that gets on the ground winds up being stepped on, peed on, pooped on, and wasted, essentially. We have to turn it into compost. So this mat allows the horses to scatter their hay a little bit, but, you know, it discourages them from bedding down on it. It provides a soft place for their feet, kind of like Grace, who was a founder situation. She needs soft places to stand. It provides a different texture than the bedding, which it's always good to give horses different places and textures to stand on. Very good for the feet. And it prevents holes from being dug where a horse tends to paw, kind of like at a feeder. So speaking of feeders, this is a feeder that we designed to go in the stalls. Obviously, the best way to feed a horse is totally natural off the ground. But as we already discussed, feeding on the ground can also cause a tremendous amount of waste. So the kind of compromise I've come up with based on my past experience, the best feeder option I actually found was to use a water trough. And the horses, the hay could go in the trough, and the horse could eat out of the trough, and the trough kind of contained the hay. They generally didn't poop and pee in it. And using that water trough as our example, we decided to do just basically a walled feeder. Now, I have seen many times where there's just kind of a triangular or basically a slab board put across here, and you basically wind up with a triangle. The problem with that is it really has a very small opening when it comes right down to it, which limits your airflow. By creating a 3-sided opening, it really expands the amount of space and headroom the horse has to drop his head down in there and eat. So this increases airflow. Now, in addition to the hay manger, I've also attached a mineral and supplement feeder to the wall. This is just a standard feeder you can buy from pretty much any tack store or horse type store, farm store. I like the double feeders personally. We've used them for many, many years. In fact, this one is getting pretty old. It's got some cracks, so I had to add a few extra screws to support it. But it's always nice to be able to put, you know, your loose salt in one side. I can put their daily mineral in one side. If you have a horse who needs like senior feed or something in smaller quantities, these are really handy for that. So adds a lot of options without having loose buckets around your stall. It's really not difficult to clean out, even though it's not easy to take off the wall set up like this, but I've often just used a glove and scooped it out, and you can just give it a quick wipe down periodically, and it's pretty easy to maintain. So I like these feeders. So we've walked out back behind the stall, and I'm going to show you the setup back here. There's a couple of things I want to mention. I'm pretty excited about it and very proud of the work my family has helped put into this. So thank you guys for that. First of all, you see the fence behind me. Now, just to give you some scale, I'm going to back up to this one. This fence is 7 feet high at the top. Wild Mustangs in the tip program are required to have 6 foot high fencing to discourage them from trying to jump out. Now, in our case, as tip trainers, we get a lot of horses in, totally different personalities. Some of them are much wilder than others, depending on how long they've actually been in holding. We try to err on the side of caution. So what we did was take it up another foot. This would really help discourage a horse from trying to jump, since most of them are under 15 hands. This fence is pretty stout. It is actually goes above and beyond the BLM requirement because we built this to be long-term. So this is a 6x6 treated post, and on it is 2x8 oak planks. They're each 8 feet long. There's 8 feet of spacing between these posts. My husband actually milled full-size 2x8, so it's non-dimensional, but it is extremely stout lumber. It's just raw wood. It'll kind of wear down with time, but they are spaced at about 8-inch intervals roughly. So it all kind of comes out to 7 feet high. So while we're on the topic of fence, I wanted to show you, we built a gate that fits right in. We just built it from the milled lumber. It matches right up with the fence rails. So to a horse that might be feeling a little trapped or looking for an escape route, this just kind of looks like a continuous part of the wall to them, a little bit of psychology there, and helps discourage them from trying to escape through the gate, which is always a weak link. But I also wanted to show you the latches that we choose. We had these all over our previous farm. Absolutely love them. I've used pretty much every variety of latch out there over the years at different stables and such. But this is our go-to, especially when it comes to flightier horses or horses in training that may be disrespectful or pushy on gates. This particular one is a double open gate. Let me pop it open here so you can see how it works. But you can see it has a little knob right here. This knob will slide right onto this. You can see it sort of ramps in case your gate drops a little bit. And then this particular one can be opened on either side. So it allows that little peg to come out. In our case though, we built the gate itself such that it doesn't really swing out much. It only swings one way to help discourage horses from trying to race through. But it is one-handed, which is really nice. So it's a slam gate. So if you have one hand, you just slam it shut, no big deal. You don't have to worry about checking behind you. To open it is also one-hand use. You just pop it up and pull it open with your fingers. It provides a little security because we can put a clip here, which helps discourage, I don't know, children or visitors or whatever from opening it. You could padlock it if you had to. So there are options for locking. And then in my case, sometimes I like to be able to hold a gate fully open. So I added just a basic hook and eye. This is not something that will really take any stress from a horse. Haven't totally finished it because I have to fix this wall here, but it will have an eye here, and this hook can clip right into the eye to hold the gate open nice and wide. But you'll notice it is kind of recessed on the end of the gate, and for that reason it is safe enough, because when the gate is closed and the horse is in here, there's really no way for the horse to make contact. It's tucked deep in there, so I don't have to worry about anybody getting caught. That keeps it nice and safe. But yeah, highly recommend these. Open, close very easily, just nice, handy, very sturdy, secure latches. Now I want to show you one thing we did here. For those of you who are familiar with our Paddock Paradise, we do have another video on that in the past. We're big believers in the Paddock Paradise. We do hope to build another one in the future when we are set up well with our own personal horses again. But you can actually design a type of Paddock Paradise system in any size corral, and that's something I've tried to teach people. You don't have to have 100 acres to design a big track. you use what you have. The idea is to increase the number of footsteps that a horse takes in a day. That is better for the horse. It, helps burn calories. It keeps them moving. It increases circulation in their feet and legs. Keeps them from being just stationary all day, standing at the hay feed or gaining weight. So we found out Grace was going to come back. So what we've done is prepare 2 paddocks for Grace to give her more room to walk around. And I left the gate off of one section, and I left the planks off the end section, which essentially puts a fence right down the middle of her corral. I put the water, oh look, Kyla's playing in the water, in the corner on one diagonal, and then her stall is set up such that it has the hay and the mineral and the shelter. That way, she has to essentially double or even triple her footsteps walking from hay to water, because she can't just do a diagonal line. She has to go around this fence. So it's not as great as our former mile-long Paddock Paradise, but it is definitely better than just giving her a square corral. It forces that movement that she needs, and that will keep her healthier overall. Now, I also want to show you our footing of choice. Eventually, we'd like to put sand in here. That's just something we haven't had in the budget quite yet with the house being built. So right now, we have a base of ag lime. It's about 4 inches thick, and it's above a packed clay base that our excavator created a few months back. That ag lime, we talked about it earlier, but it provides really good drainage. So if we get rain, it helps prevent the mud and the muck. I can't stand having horses stand in that stuff, so this will help keep their feet dry, and in Grace's case, her feather dry. But as a bonus to that, one of the great things you can add for any horse really, but especially a horse in rehab, is pea gravel. Pea gravel is a nice round small rock, and it literally provides like a massage to the sole of the hoof. Most horses love it, especially barefoot horses, because they can really feel it. It really stimulates circulation. So again, you go back to kind of our principle with the Paddock Paradise that we talked about. When you can provide these different textures that allow your horse to choose where he wants to stand, it creates a healthier hoof overall, but it also increases the comfort level of horses whose hooves are at different levels of health. And we've had really good success with this in the past. So this pea gravel area goes all the way across all of our stalls, and it's about 12 feet wide from the back of the stall out. Now, certainly right now it's nice and tidy. I'm sure it's going to get scattered, and we'll have to replace it periodically, but as long as we stay on top of that, it was surprisingly affordable, honestly. This was only 4 tons, and it covered the entire 3-stall and tack room area. So this is about 40 feet long by 12 feet wide, and it's about, I would say 2 inches thick on the low end and 6 to 8 inches thick on the higher ends. So it's nice and deep and thick and easy to scoop out, lots of drainage. So just an excellent option for footing for your horses. Well, now I have something I'm just so excited to tell you. For those of you that have followed us for a while, like I said, you know the story of Grace, and we basically decided to retire her. She had kind of reached a plateau in her healing, it seemed, and the vet and the farriers we consulted with, everybody kind of agreed that, it was just time to retire her. We had brought her so far. She was happy. She was healthy, except for those front feet being foundered still. So we gave her to someone who could basically just provide her a retired life, feed her, take care of her, and let her just do her horse thing. Well, unfortunately, apparently that life did not agree with Grace. She was bored out of her mind. She was not ready to settle down and retire. She wanted a job. She was becoming quite a handful for the owner. She decided to get another evaluation, and we consulted again with a couple of vets and a hoof expert farrier who specializes in rehab and founders and such. And they all agreed, despite Grace's physical limitations, she doesn't seem to know that she has this problem. So they basically said, you know what? Put this horse into full-scale training, take a few precautions like boots. Her feet may actually continue to progress, and let's just get her working, give her a job, get her, you know, tuned back in mentally, and let her have a purpose in life. So we found out Grace was going to come back.
It looks like Grace is home. Rose is greeting her, as she always does, and here she comes.
She's home! Grace is home. We have her turned out in our round pen. We obviously don't have large turnout areas set up yet. So she has her stall, she has her paddock and her runs, and then we have the round pen for training, but we've ordered a load of sand. It just hasn't come yet. So I can't actually train in the round pen. It's just an ag line base at the moment. But Grace is back. Hi, girl. So you can only imagine how exciting it is to have Grace here again. It's been tough having a horse-powered farm without a horse, and you'd be amazed how much you can actually accomplish with a single horse. We do have that equipment and that ability, so she'll be able to help us out quite a bit. But first, I have to kind of remind her of her manners. She's pretty disrespectful, having not really been handled much in about 8 months. She's got a little bit of attitude we need to work on, so we'll be starting that. But she just came home last night, so nice and fresh still, and a lot we can do with her. So that's exciting. Well, hey guys, if you've subscribed, thanks so much for following us on our journey. I'm really excited that we're getting back into the animal aspect and kind of moving away from construction a little bit. At least it'll give you a mix of things to watch. If you haven't subscribed, please do so. There's a lot that goes on here at Redgate Farm, and slowly but surely we're going to start incorporating more and more of that into the videos as we go through this journey. A lot more exciting news to tell you, and we'll try to get to it as quick as we can. So you guys take care.